The vast darkness of space was pierced by the glow of 6 Imperial patrol ships, their sleek hulls reflecting the distant starlight as they moved in perfect formation. Each vessel bore the symbol of the Galactic Empire, a spiral of stars wrapped around a golden spear. For centuries, the Empire had ruled thousands of worlds with an iron grip disguised as benevolent guidance. Commander Drell stood on the bridge of the lead patrol ship, hands clasped behind his back as he stared at the holographic map of Sector 7. This region bordered the outer reaches of Imperial space, a quiet zone that rarely saw activity beyond the occasional merchant vessel. "Sir, sensors are picking up an unknown ship," reported a young officer, his blue skin tensing as he studied the readout. "It's not matching any Imperial signature." Drell frowned. "Show me." The hologram shifted to display a vessel unlike any in the Imperial fleet. It was darker, more angular, with visible weapon ports along its hull. Most Imperial ships hid their weapons behind elegant curves. This ship made no attempt to disguise its nature. "What is it?" Drell asked. The officer's fingers danced across the control panel. "Computer identifies it as human design, sir. Warship class." A cold silence fell over the bridge. Humans were known to the Empire, of course, a species from a small blue planet in a backwater system. The Empire had surveyed Earth decades ago and classified humans as primitive, barely achieving spaceflight. They weren't considered a threat or worthy of formal contact. So why was a human warship here, at the edge of Imperial space? "Open communication channels," ordered Drell. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a man in a dark blue uniform. He had short brown hair, a strong jaw, and eyes that reflected a calm determination Drell found immediately unsettling. "This is Captain James Miller of the Earth Federation vessel Dauntless," the human said, his voice steady. "Identify yourselves." Drell straightened. "I am Commander Drell of the Galactic Empire's 7th Fleet. You have entered restricted Imperial space. State your purpose or withdraw immediately." Captain Miller's expression didn't change. "We're investigating the disappearance of 3 research vessels in this sector. Last transmissions placed them near these coordinates." "There have been no human vessels in this sector," Drell replied automatically. "Your information is incorrect." Miller's eyes narrowed slightly. He reached over to press something off screen, and suddenly the display split to show sensor readings and video logs. "These are the final transmissions from our research ships," Miller explained. "They clearly show Imperial vessels approaching before communications were cut. We have the right to investigate what happened to our people." Drell felt a chill run through him. This wasn't possible. Humans shouldn't have this kind of technology, not the ships themselves, nor the ability to track and record Imperial vessels with such clarity. "Admiral Gray must be informed," whispered his second-in-command. Drell nodded stiffly. "Human vessel, remain in position. Any movement will be considered hostile action." He cut the transmission and immediately opened a secure channel to Imperial Command. Within minutes, the imposing figure of Admiral Gray filled the screen. His silver uniform gleamed with metals, and his pale eyes seemed to look through Drell rather than at him. "Report," Gray demanded. "Admiral, we've encountered a human warship in Sector 7. They claim to be searching for missing research vessels." Drell swallowed hard. "They have evidence suggesting Imperial involvement in the disappearances." Gray's expression didn't change, but his voice dropped dangerously. "What kind of evidence?" "Visual recordings of Imperial ships approaching their vessels before they went dark." Drell hesitated. "Sir, their technology, it's far more advanced than our reports indicated." A long silence followed. Finally, Gray spoke. "I'm dispatching 3 battle cruisers to your position. Surround the human vessel, but take no action until I arrive. Keep them talking." The transmission ended, and Drell turned back to the viewport where the Dauntless hung against the star field. Even with his limited knowledge of human vessels, he could tell this was no ordinary ship. The hull showed signs of advanced alloys, and the energy readings were unlike anything in Imperial databases. When communications reopened with the human ship, Captain Miller's face showed he had expected this delay. "Your reinforcements are on the way, Commander?" Miller asked casually. Drell felt unnerved. How had they detected the incoming ships already? "I don't know what you mean." Miller smiled slightly. "We've detected 3 large vessels moving toward this position at high speed. Your empire isn't known for subtlety." "The Admiral wishes to discuss this situation personally," Drell replied. Stiffly. Hours passed in tense silence. The human ship made no aggressive moves, simply maintaining position as 3 massive Imperial battlecruisers arrived, their hulls dwarfing both the patrol ships and the Dauntless. Admiral Gray's personal shuttle docked with Drell's vessel, and soon the Admiral strode onto the bridge, his cold gaze fixed on the human ship displayed on the main screen. "Open communications," he ordered. Captain Miller appeared once more, his calm demeanor unchanged despite now facing overwhelming firepower. "I am Admiral Gray of the Galactic Empire. Your presence here violates multiple Imperial edicts. Earth has no authority in this sector." Miller's response was measured. "Admiral, we respect your borders under normal circumstances, but when our ships and citizens go missing, we have a duty to investigate. Any missing vessels are the result of your own navigational errors," Gray said dismissively. "This sector contains hazardous space phenomena that primitive ships might not detect." For the first time, Miller's expression hardened. "Primitive? Perhaps you should check your scans more carefully, Admiral." Gray motioned to his science officer, who conducted a deep scan of the Dauntless. As the results came in, the officer's eyes widened. "Sir," he whispered, "their shield technology. It's nothing like our report suggested, and there are energy signatures we can't identify." A flash of uncertainty crossed Gray's face before he controlled it. "Captain Miller, I'm transmitting coordinates. Remove your vessel to that position immediately, or we will be forced to fire upon you." Miller leaned forward slightly. "Admiral, we have evidence your ships attacked our research vessels. We're not leaving until we know what happened to our people." Gray's patience ended. "This is your final warning. Withdraw, or be destroyed." "We cannot do that, Admiral." Gray turned to his weapons officer. "Target their engines, fire." A brilliant beam of energy lanced out from the lead battlecruiser, striking the Dauntless directly. The Imperial bridge crew watched, expecting to see the human ship crippled or destroyed. Instead, the energy seemed to ripple across an invisible barrier before dissipating completely. "No damage detected," reported the stunned science officer. "Their shields absorbed the entire impact." Miller's face reappeared on screen, still unnervingly calm. "Admiral Gray, we came here seeking answers, not conflict. That was a warning shot from your side. Here's ours." Before anyone could react, a small projectile launched from the Dauntless. It detonated between the Imperial ships, releasing a pulse that washed over the vessels. Suddenly, every system on the Imperial ships flickered and reset. "What just happened?" demanded Gray as emergency lights bathed the bridge in red. "Some kind of electromagnetic pulse, sir, but focused somehow to only affect our systems temporarily," the science officer reported. "They could have disabled us completely, but they chose not to." On the screen, Miller's expression remained firm but not threatening. "Now that I have your attention, Admiral, perhaps we can discuss the matter of our missing ships more productively. The next demonstration won't be so gentle." As the Imperial crew scrambled to restore their systems, Admiral Gray stared at the human captain with new eyes filled with something the Empire hadn't felt in centuries: fear. The Stellar Council would need to be informed immediately. Humans weren't the primitives they had believed, and somewhere in the back of his mind, Admiral Gray recalled an ancient warning about Earth that had been dismissed as myth. "Leave them, alone in their cradle, for if they awaken too soon, the stars themselves will tremble." He was beginning to think it wasn't a myth after all. News of the human warship spread through the Empire's communication networks like wildfire. Within hours, an emergency meeting of the Stellar Council was called. The Grand Chamber, with its high ceiling and walls of polished black stone, filled quickly with representatives from the Empire's most powerful worlds. High Counselor Vex, the oldest member of the council, stood at the center platform. His thin frame seemed to bend under invisible weight as the holographic display showed the human vessel, the Dauntless, surrounded by now 8 Imperial ships. "How is this possible?" demanded Counselor Wren, her voice echoing in the chamber. Humans were classified as a Level 2 civilization, barely capable of reaching their own moon. Vex raised a hand for silence. "Our last official survey of Earth was conducted over 70 years ago. It appears we underestimated their rate of progress, or we were deliberately misled," suggested another counselor. The room fell silent as the main doors opened. A tall, slender man with dark skin and sharp eyes entered, carrying a data pad. This was Marcus, Chief of Imperial Intelligence. Humans have been hiding their true capabilities," Marcus stated flatly. "Our recent scans of their vessels show technology that rivals or exceeds our own in several key areas." He tapped his pad, and the hologram shifted to display detailed scans of the Dauntless. "Their shield technology operates on principles our scientists don't fully understand. Their weapons systems are equally advanced. Most concerning is their propulsion system. It leaves almost no energy signature, making it nearly impossible to track." High Counselor Vex's fingers trembled slightly. "What do they want?" "They claim to be searching for missing research vessels," Marcus replied. "Our records show 3 unknown ships were indeed destroyed in that sector last month by Commander Zed's patrol fleet. They were classified as smugglers and eliminated without communication." "A mistake," whispered Vex. "A mistake that could lead to war," said Marcus. "Admiral Gray reports that the human captain, this Miller, has evidence of our involvement. He's demanding answers and suggests there will be consequences if not provided." Counselor Wren stood abruptly. "This is absurd. We are the Galactic Empire. We do not bow to threats from a single ship from a backwater world." Marcus looked at her coolly. "A single ship that withstood a direct hit from a Class 4 energy cannon without showing any damage. A single ship that temporarily disabled 3 of our battlecruisers with technology we cannot counter." The room erupted in angry voices and fearful whispers. Meanwhile, aboard the Imperial flagship, Admiral Gray paced the bridge. The standoff had lasted nearly 12 hours and the human ship remained motionless, its dark hull reflecting starlight as 6 more Imperial vessels joined the blockade. "Report from intelligence, sir," said his aide, extending a datapad. Gray scanned the information, his expression darkening. "Is this verified?" "Yes, sir. We've been ordered to neutralize the human vessel by any means necessary." Gray handed back the pad. "Prepare all ships for coordinated attack. Full power to forward. Batteries." Back on the Dauntless, Captain Miller stood at the viewport, watching the Imperial ships adjust their positions. Beside him, Lieutenant Ben Watson, his tactical officer, monitored the sensor readings. "They're charging weapons, sir," Watson reported. "All ships. This won't be a warning shot." Miller nodded calmly. "They've made their decision then." He turned to the communications officer. "Record everything. Make sure our transmission breaks through any attempt to block it." He walked to the captain's chair and pressed the ship-wide communication button. "All hands, battle stations. Defensive protocol echo." Throughout the ship, crew members moved with practiced efficiency. Unlike the rigid ceremonial procedures of the Imperial forces, the humans moved with a casual competence born of genuine experience. "Sir," called the sensor officer, "I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the Imperial flagship. They're bringing something new online." Miller's eyes narrowed. "Magnify." The main screen showed the Imperial flagship's hull opening to reveal a massive cannon, far larger than any visible weapon on the other ships. "Planet Killer class weapon," Watson said quietly. "They're not taking chances." Miller's face remained calm, but his voice carried steel when he spoke. "Activate the Aegis system. Prepare return fire. Targeting weapons only." On the Imperial flagship, Admiral Gray gave the order. "Fire." A blinding beam of concentrated energy erupted from the massive cannon, joined by simultaneous fire from all 14 Imperial vessels. The combined firepower was enough to shatter a small moon. The energy struck the Dauntless dead center and spread across its hull like water over glass, rippling in patterns of blue and gold before dissipating completely. "Impossible," breathed Gray. Before he could issue another command, the Dauntless responded. Precise beams of energy lanced out from the human ship, striking each Imperial vessel's weapon systems with surgical accuracy. Explosions bloomed across the Imperial fleet as weapon arrays overloaded and failed. "Report!" shouted Gray as his bridge rocked from the impact. "All weapons offline," came the panicked response. "They've somehow targeted only our weapon systems. Life support and engines remain functional." Gray stared at the view screen in disbelief. The human ship had deliberately avoided causing casualties. On the Dauntless, Miller opened a channel to the Imperial fleet. "Admiral Gray, you've now seen what one human warship can do against your entire fleet. We did not destroy your ships or harm your crews when we could have. Remember that." In the Imperial capital, Marcus rushed into the council chamber, interrupting the heated debate. "The human ship has neutralized our entire attack force," he announced. 14 ships, including Admiral Gray's flagship, have been rendered weaponless without a single casualty. The council chamber erupted in chaos. "How?" demanded Vex. "How could they?" "I've been researching human history," Marcus said, activating a holographic display. "What we're seeing isn't just advanced technology. It's the result of something more fundamental." The display showed scenes from Earth's history, wars, battles, and conflicts spanning centuries. Humans evolved as persistence predators, Marcus E. explained. Their entire history is marked by warfare and innovation born of conflict. While the Empire has enjoyed peace for centuries, humans have been constantly fighting, either against nature or each other. Their technology isn't just advanced, it's battle-tested in ways ours isn't. He switched the display to show an ancient, Imperial text. "And there's something else. I found this in the sealed archives, an Imperial decree from over 500 years ago, ordering all contact with Earth to cease." Vex's face paled. "The quarantine directive. I thought it was a myth." "It's real," said Marcus, "and it specifies that humans were to be isolated, not because they were primitive, but because they were dangerous." Councillor Wren scoffed. "One ship, no matter how advanced, cannot threaten the Empire." Marcus looked at her grimly. "This isn't their only ship. Our long-range sensors have detected energy signatures consistent with the Dauntless appearing at the edges of our territory. Not one ship. Dozens." He paused, letting his words sink in. "And we have no idea how many more they have, or what else they're capable of." As the council members sat in stunned silence, Marcus added the final blow. "There's one more thing you should know. We've intercepted communications between the Dauntless and Earth. They're not just looking for their missing ships anymore." "What do they want?" asked Vex, his voice barely audible. Marcus's expression was grim. "Answers. About why we've been hiding the truth from them for centuries. About who they really are." Outside the window of the council chamber, the first stars of evening began to appear in the darkening sky, stars that suddenly seemed much less secure under the Empire's control. Captain Miller sat alone in his quarters aboard the Dauntless, studying the data they had gathered from the Imperial ships. The confrontation had ended in a stalemate, the Imperial fleet powerless but still surrounding them, unwilling to retreat or engage further. A soft chime announced a visitor. "Enter," Miller called. Lieutenant Anna Reed stepped inside, her red hair pulled back tightly, dark circles under her eyes showing the strain of the past 24 hours. As second in command and head of intelligence, she had been working non-stop since they disabled the Imperial fleet. "Captain, I've found something," she said, placing a datapad on his desk. "We managed to access some of their secure databases during the weapons exchange." Miller raised an eyebrow. Weapons exchange was a polite way to describe how they had neutralized 14 Imperial warships. "What did you find?" Reed's eyes gleamed with excitement. "The truth, sir. About Earth. About why we were cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Miller scrolled through the information, his expression growing more serious with each passing moment. Is this verified? Triple-checked, sir. It's authentic Imperial historical data, classified at the highest level. Miller stood and moved to the viewport, looking out at the stars and the Imperial ships still positioned around them. So we weren't always primitive. We were feared. According to these records, humans were part of an earlier galactic civilization, Reed explained. We weren't just part of it, we were its defenders. The records call us the Shield of Dawn. Miller turned back to her. Why would they erase our history? Cut us off from everything? Reed tapped the pad, bringing up more information. There was a war, a big one. The records are fragmented, but they mention something called the Sundering. Afterward, a decision was made by the early Empire to isolate Earth, erase our memories of space travel, and keep us contained. For 500 years, Miller said quietly. But that's not all, Reed continued. I found references to something called Project Harvest. It looks like the Empire has been secretly entering our space for decades, mining resources from the outer reaches of our solar system and nearby stars we haven't explored yet. Miller's jaw tightened. Those weren't just research vessels they destroyed. No, sir. They were survey ships that stumbled onto Imperial mining operations. Operations that have been causing environmental damage to some of our outer colonies through resource depletion and waste dumping. A cold anger settled in Miller's eyes. They've been stealing from us while keeping us ignorant of our own history, the ship's communication system chimed. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Gray. He's requesting to come aboard to negotiate. Miller and Reed exchanged glances. Tell him he may bring one aid. No weapons, Miller ordered. An hour later, Admiral Gray stood stiffly in the Dauntless's conference room, his silver uniform contrasting sharply with the darker, more functional uniforms of the human crew. Beside him stood a younger officer who introduced himself as Lieutenant Tarn. Captain Miller, Gray began formally. The Stellar Council has authorized me to offer terms for your withdrawal from Imperial space. Miller smiled thinly. We both know you're not in a position to offer terms, Admiral. Your ships are weaponless, and reinforcements would take days to arrive. By then our fleet would be here. Gray's eyes narrowed. You're bluffing. You don't have a fleet. Lieutenant Reed tapped a control, and the view screen showed long-range sensor readings of multiple vessels approaching from various directions. The Earth Defense Force was mobilized the moment we confirmed Imperial involvement in the destruction of our ships, Miller explained. They'll be here within 20 hours. Gray's face paled slightly, but he maintained his composure. What do you want? The truth, Miller said simply, and compensation for the resources you've been stealing from our territory. Gray's expression revealed nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. Reed placed her datapad on the table and slid it toward Gray. Project Harvest, the illegal mining operations, the ecological damage to our outer colonies. We have it all. For a moment, genuine surprise flashed across Gray's face as he reviewed the information, then his expression hardened. These operations weren't authorized by the full council. They were conducted by certain factions. Miller leaned forward. And what about our history? The Shield of Dawn? The Sundering? Was that authorized by the full council too? For the first time, Gray looked truly uncomfortable. Behind him, Lieutenant Tarn shifted nervously. Those events occurred 5 centuries ago, Gray said carefully. Few remember the details now. But you do, Miller pressed. Or at least you know more than you're saying. Gray straightened. Captain Miller, I am not authorized to discuss these matters. I've been instructed to inform you that if you don't withdraw your vessel immediately, the Empire will consider it an act of war. Miller laughed, the sound holding no humor. Admiral, your Empire started this war 500 years ago, when you erased our history and imprisoned us on our own world. You continued it when you destroyed our ships and stole our resources. We're just finally fighting back. Before Gray could respond, the ship rocked violently. Warning alarms blared throughout the vessel. "Report!" Miller shouted into his communicator. "Sir, we're under attack." A new Imperial vessel just dropped out of hyperspace and opened fire without warning. Miller turned to Gray, fury in his eyes. "Is this your idea of negotiation, Admiral?" Gray looked genuinely confused. "I gave no such order. My fleet is still weaponless." The ship's tactical officer's voice came through the speakers. "Captain, it's not one of the ships from the blockade. This is a different class entirely. Black hull, no Imperial markings, they're targeting our engines." Reed's fingers flew across her datapad. "Sir, according to these records, it matches the description of vessels operated by something called the Imperial Shadow Division, a secret branch not officially acknowledged by the Council." Gray's face showed real alarm now. "Captain Miller, I swear to you I did not know about this attack. The Shadow Division answers directly to the High Council, not military command." Another blast rocked the ship. Miller grabbed his communicator. "Battle stations, return fire, aim to disable." He glared at Gray. "If you're telling the truth, Admiral, then your empire is even more corrupt than we thought. The Council sent you to keep us talking while their assassins moved into position." Gray's expression hardened. "If what you say is true, then I've been used as well, Captain. The Shadow Division operates outside normal channels. Few know of their existence, even among high command." Lieutenant Tarn suddenly spoke up. "He's right. The Council is corrupt. They've been manipulating species across the galaxy for centuries." Gray turned to his aide in shock. "Lieutenant," Tarn stood straighter. "I'm sorry, Admiral, but Captain Miller needs to know. The Shadow Division doesn't just handle black operations. They're the enforcers for the Council's personal agenda. If they're here, it means the Council wants the Dauntless destroyed regardless of the consequences." Miller studied Tarn carefully. "Why are you telling us this?" Tarn looked directly at Miller. "Because I've seen the same records you have now. About the Shield of Dawn. About what humans once were to the galaxy. The truth has been buried for too long." Another blast shook the ship more violently than before. "Engine 2 is damaged," came the report from engineering. "Shield capacity at 70%. Miller made a swift decision. "Admiral Gray, Lieutenant Tarn, you'll remain aboard as our guests until this situation is resolved. Lieutenant Reed, get to the bridge and coordinate our response." As Reed hurried out, Miller turned back to Gray. "It seems, Admiral, that we both have enemies in the Stellar Council. The question now is what we're going to do about it." Gray looked at the human captain with new respect and something else, the first glimmer of understanding. "Perhaps, Captain Miller, it's time for the Empire to remember why humans were so feared in the first place." Outside, the stars blurred as the Dauntless engaged its advanced engines, breaking through the Imperial blockade with a burst of speed that left the weaponless ships unable to follow. Behind them, the Shadow Division vessel pursued, determined to keep the humans from spreading what they had learned. The race to expose the truth had begun. The Dauntless shot through space like a dark arrow, its advanced engines pushing far beyond what the Empire had believed possible for human technology. Behind them, the Shadow Division vessel followed, its black hull seeming to absorb rather than reflect the light of nearby stars. On the bridge, Captain Miller studied the tactical display. "Status of the pursuit?" "Still following, sir," Lieutenant Watson reported from the tactical station. "They're faster than the standard Imperial ships, but we're maintaining our lead. Our Engine 2 is operating at reduced power after the hit we took." Miller nodded and turned to Lieutenant Reed. "What's our next move?" Reed had been working non-stop, compiling the intelligence they'd gathered from the Imperial databases. "We need proof, sir. Hard evidence of Project Harvest and the Imperial operations in our space. According to these records, there are 3 major mining operations in systems near our borders. Can we reach them before the Shadow Division catches up?" Miller asked. "The closest is in the Proxima system. Just 6 hours at our current speed," Reed replied. Miller made his decision. "Set course for Proxima, and prepare a data packet for transmission to Earth. They need to know what we've found." In the ship's secure conference room, Admiral Gray and Lieutenant Tarn remained under guard. Gray paced the small space while Tarn sat quietly watching him. You've betrayed the Empire, Gray finally said, his voice low. Tarn met his gaze steadily. No, Admiral. The Council betrayed the Empire. What they've done, hiding the truth, manipulating species' secret mining operations, none of this serves our people. It only serves them. Gray stopped pacing. You sound like you've been thinking about this for some time. I have, Tarn admitted. I was assigned to the historical archives before joining your staff. I saw things, records that didn't match the official history. When I started asking questions, I was quickly reassigned. The door slid open, and Captain Miller entered with, Lieutenant Reed, we're heading to the Proxima system, Miller announced without preamble. According to your records, that's one of the locations of Project Harvest. Gray frowned. You're making a mistake. If there are mining operations there, they'll be heavily defended. We're counting on it, Miller replied. We need evidence of what the Empire has been doing. And what happens when you have this evidence? Gray asked. Do you plan to start a war with the entire Empire? Miller shook his head. We want justice, not war. If what Lieutenant Tarn says is true, then many in the Empire don't even know what the Council has been doing. We want the truth exposed, to our people and to yours. Gray was silent for a long moment. The Shadow Division ship will call for reinforcements. You'll be facing more than just one vessel soon. Which is why we need to move quickly, Reed interjected. Admiral, we could use your help. Your knowledge of Imperial protocols and defenses would be valuable. Gray looked surprised. You're asking me to help you against my own people? Against the Council, Miller corrected. Not against the Empire or its people. You said yourself, if what we've discovered is true, then you've been used as well. Before Gray could respond, the ship's communication system activated. Captain, incoming transmission from an unknown source. It's being broadcast on an old Imperial frequency. Miller frowned. Put it through. The screen on the wall lit up, showing a face that caused Gray to inhale sharply. It was an older man with dark skin and sharp, intelligent eyes. This is Marcus, Chief of Imperial Intelligence, the man said without introduction. I'm contacting the human vessel Dauntless. Captain Miller, I presume? Miller stepped forward. I'm Miller. How did you find this channel? Marcus smiled slightly. There's very little I don't find, Captain. I'm contacting you because we have a mutual problem. The Shadow Division has been dispatched to eliminate you and me. You? Gray stepped into view of the transmission. Marcus, what's happening? Admiral Gray, Marcus acknowledged. The Council didn't appreciate my recent inquiries into human history or Project Harvest. It seems I've become inconvenient. Where are you? Miller asked. On a small transport, currently hiding in an asteroid field in the Vega sector. I have files, complete records of Project Harvest, Council deliberations, and the true history of Earth's relationship with the galaxy. I'm willing to share them with you. Miller exchanged glances with Reed. Why would you help us? Because the Council has corrupted the Empire I swore to serve, Marcus replied simply. What they've done to humans, they've done to dozens of species. They've manipulated, exploited, and controlled, all while hiding behind the facade of benevolent leadership. It could be a trap, Reed whispered to Miller. Marcus heard her. It's not a trap, Lieutenant Reed. But you're wise to be cautious. I'm transmitting coordinates now. Meet me there in 10 hours. I'll provide the evidence you need. The transmission ended. Can we trust him? Miller asked Gray. The Admiral considered. Marcus has served the Empire for decades. He's known for his integrity, even among his enemies. If he says the Council has gone too far, I'm inclined to believe him. Miller nodded. Set course for the coordinates, but approach with caution. We'll gather the evidence from Proxima first, then meet with Marcus. The Dauntless altered course, accelerating toward the Proxima system. 6 hours later, they dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a small rocky planet orbiting a red dwarf star. Scan the surface, Miller ordered. Watson's hands moved over the controls. detecting massive mining operations on the far side of the planet. Energy signatures consistent with Imperial technology. There are 3 large vessels in orbit and a base on the surface. Reed studied her console. The planet shows signs of extreme strip mining. The environmental damage is catastrophic. The planet's core has been destabilized. Miller's expression hardened. Record everything. Full sensor. Sweep. As the Dauntless moved closer, alarms suddenly blared. "We've been spotted," Watson called out. "The Imperial ships are powering weapons." "Open a channel," Miller ordered. "Channel open," the communications officer replied. "Imperial vessels. This is Captain James Miller of the Earth Federation ship Dauntless. We are conducting an investigation into illegal mining operations in neutral space. Power down your weapons." The response was immediate. Energy beams lanced out from all 3 Imperial ships. "Evasive maneuvers," Miller commanded. "Return fire, target weapons only." The Dauntless rolled gracefully, avoiding the brunt of the attack. Its own weapons fired with precision, disabling 2 of the Imperial ships with surgical strikes. "The 3rd ship is retreating," Watson reported. "They're sending out a distress call." "Let them go," Miller said. "Continue recording. I want detailed scans of those mining operations." For 30 minutes, the Dauntless orbited the planet, documenting the extensive damage caused by Imperial mining. When they had gathered enough evidence, Miller ordered a course for Marcus's coordinates. "Sir," Reed said urgently, "long-range sensors are detecting multiple ships converging on our position. At least 6 vessels, including what appears to be the Shadow Division ship that was pursuing us." Miller turned to Gray. "It seems your people really don't want us sharing what we found." Gray's expression was grim. "The Shadow Division doesn't represent my people, Captain. They represent the Council's fears. And right now, their greatest fear is the truth you carry." "Set course for Marcus's coordinates. Maximum speed," Miller ordered. "We need to get that additional evidence before they catch up to us." As the Dauntless accelerated away from Proxima, the Imperial pursuit fleet grew from 6 ships to 11. The hunt was intensifying, and the stakes were becoming clear, not just for humanity but for the entire galaxy. The Dauntless emerged from faster-than-light travel at the coordinates Marcus had provided. Before them floated an ancient space station, its design unlike anything in current Imperial architecture. The massive structure was shaped like a wheel, with spokes extending from a central hub, its surface covered with faded symbols. "What is this place?" Miller asked, staring at the viewscreen. Admiral Gray stepped forward, his eyes wide with recognition. "The archives of Helios. It was believed, destroyed centuries ago." Lieutenant Tarn moved beside him. "The oldest repository of galactic knowledge," he whispered. "The birthplace of the First Galactic Alliance." A small transport ship approached from behind the station, matching the signal Marcus had used earlier. "Captain," Watson called from Tactical, "our long-range sensors show the Imperial pursuit fleet is less than 2 hours behind us. 11 ships, including 3 battle cruisers and the Shadow Division vessel." Miller nodded grimly. "Let's not waste time then. Bring Marcus aboard immediately." 20 minutes later, Marcus stood in the Dauntless's conference room. In person, the Imperial Intelligence Chief looked tired but determined, his dark eyes alert despite his obvious exhaustion. "Thank you for coming, Captain," Marcus said, placing a small data crystal on the table. "This contains everything. The complete records of Project Harvest, council meeting transcripts, and the sealed archives about Earth's true history." Miller picked up the crystal. "Why this station? Why meet here?" Marcus smiled. "Because the archives of Helios hold something even more valuable than my records. It contains the complete, unaltered history of the galaxy, including humanity's role as the Shield of Dawn." "The station looks abandoned," Reed observed. "On the surface, yes," Marcus agreed. "The Council ordered it decommissioned 500 years ago, after the Sundering, but they couldn't destroy it. The knowledge was too valuable, so they hid it and placed it under the protection of automated systems. Systems that you can bypass," Miller guessed. Marcus nodded. As Chief of Intelligence, I have access codes even the Council has forgotten. Suddenly, the ship's alarm sounded. Captain, Watson's voice came over the comm. The Imperial fleet has arrived. They've somehow tracked us and accelerated their approach. They're launching fighters. Miller turned to Marcus. Whatever you need to do on that station, do it fast. We'll hold them off as long as we can. As Marcus and a small team from the Dauntless headed to the ancient station in a shuttle, Miller returned to the bridge. The tactical display showed the Imperial fleet spreading out to surround them. "Sir!" the communications officer called. "We're receiving a transmission from Earth. The Federation fleet has arrived." Miller's eyes widened as the display updated to show 20 human warships dropping out of faster-than-light travel behind the Imperial fleet. The Earth vessels were smaller than the Imperial battlecruisers but moved with incredible speed and precision. "Open a channel to the Federation flagship," Miller ordered. The screen changed to show Admiral Jackson, commander of Earth's defense forces. "Captain Miller, your message was received. The Federation Council has reviewed your evidence and authorized decisive action." "Glad to see you, Admiral," Miller replied. "But we need to protect that station. It contains proof of everything we've discovered, and more." "Understood. We'll engage the Imperial fleet and keep them busy." The space around the ancient station erupted in battle. Human ships darted between the larger Imperial vessels, their advanced weapons targeting engines and weapon systems with surgical precision, disabling rather than destroying. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Admiral Gray watched the battle with a mixture of awe and concern. "Your people fight differently than I expected," he said to Miller. "You could destroy those ships, but you're only disabling them." Miller nodded. "We don't want a war, Admiral. We want justice." "Captain," Reed called out. "The Shadow Division vessel is breaking through. It's heading straight for the station." Miller's jaw tightened. "Intercept course, maximum speed." The Dauntless surged forward, putting itself between the black Imperial ship and the ancient station. The shadow vessel fired, its weapons more powerful than anything they'd faced before. The Dauntless shuddered under the impact. "Shields at 40%, Watson reported. "One more hit like that and we're in trouble." "Return fire," Miller ordered. "Target their weapons array." The Dauntless fired, but the shadow ship rolled away, evading most of the blast. It continued its approach to the station, firing again. This time, the hit struck the Dauntless's weakened shields directly. Systems sparked across the bridge as the ship rocked violently. "Shields failing!" Watson shouted. "Weapons offline!" Miller gripped his chair as the shadow vessel moved past them toward the station, but before it could fire again, a brilliant beam of energy struck it from above. The black ship spun as one of its engines exploded. "What was that?" Miller demanded. "Sir," the tactical officer replied in surprise. "It's Admiral Gray's flagship. The weapons we disabled earlier, they've brought them back online." On the screen, the Imperial flagship that had been part of the initial blockade moved between the Dauntless and the shadow vessel. Admiral Gray looked at Miller. "It seems my crew found your disabling measures temporary," he said with the ghost of a smile. "Sometimes, Captain, even empires can learn." Inside the ancient station, Marcus and Reed worked frantically at the central console. The massive database came to life, holographic displays filling the chamber with images of a forgotten era. "There," Marcus said, pointing to a sequence of symbols. "The transmission protocols. If we can broadcast this to both Earth and the Imperial homeworld simultaneously." Reed's fingers moved across the controls. "Ready. But this station's communication array isn't powerful enough to reach all Imperial worlds," Marcus smiled. "It doesn't need to be." He tapped his communicator. "All Imperial vessels, this is Chief Intelligence Officer Marcus. Authorization code Omega-7 Helios. Emergency override of all communication channels." Throughout the Imperial fleet, communication systems automatically activated, ready to relay whatever message Marcus was about to send. "Now, Lieutenant," he said to Reed, "start the transmission." The ancient station hummed with power as it began broadcasting. On every Imperial ship and on Earth, screens displayed the truth that had been hidden for centuries. The images showed humans standing alongside other species as guardians of peace. It showed the corruption that had infected the early council, leading to the conflict known as the Sundering. It revealed how the Council had deliberately isolated Earth, erasing humanity's memory of its place among the stars. And finally, it showed Project Harvest, the systematic exploitation of resources from dozens of worlds, including the illegal mining in human space that had caused so much damage. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Miller watched as the Imperial fleet ceased fire, their crews undoubtedly seeing the same transmission. The Shadow Division vessel tried to escape but was surrounded by both human and Imperial ships. "It's over," Gray said quietly. "The Council can't hide this anymore." Miller nodded. "No, they can't. But what happens now?" Gray looked at the human captain thoughtfully. "Now, Captain Miller, we rebuild. Not as Empire and Earth, but as what we were always meant to be. Equals among the stars." As the fighting stopped and the truth spread across the galaxy, the Dauntless floated beside the ancient station, a human warship that had come seeking answers and instead found the beginning of a new era. In the observation lounge, Miller stood, looking out at the stars, Reed beside him. "The Shield of Dawn," Reed said softly. "That's what they called us." Miller nodded. "And perhaps that's what we'll be again. Not through fear or power, but through truth and justice." Beyond the viewport, human and Imperial ships began to gather around the ancient station, not as enemies, but as the first members of a new galactic community, one built on the truth that had finally been revealed. The Empire had panicked at the sight of a single human warship. Now they would learn to work alongside a humanity that had awakened to its true heritage among the stars. The UMS Mercy floated silently through the darkness of space. Its white hull gleamed under the distant starlight, the red medical cross symbols clearly visible against its surface. Captain James Taylor stood on the bridge, his eyes moving between the main view screen and the status reports on his tablet. "Status update on our patients, Dr. Miller?" he asked, turning to the woman beside him. Dr. Lisa Miller nodded, her tired eyes reflecting her 48 hours without sleep. "We have 23 critical cases stabilized. The mining accident victims from Colony 7 are responding well to treatment. The burn victims will need another week of care before transfer." Captain Taylor nodded. The UMS Mercy was the largest hospital ship in the human fleet. With 12 decks dedicated to medical facilities, it could treat over 500 patients at once. Right now, they carried 342 patients, many rescued from a mining disaster in a nearby system. "We're approaching the border of Vex space," said Officer Robert Green from his navigation station. "I've sent all the required notices and our medical vessel clearance codes." "Good," Taylor replied. "Keep broadcasting our status on all frequencies. Standard protocol." The UMS Mercy was well known across this sector of space. For 15 years, it had answered distress calls from any species, any colony, regardless of political ties. Even the Vex, despite their uneasy relationship with humans, had allowed the hospital ship to treat their wounded during the asteroid belt disaster 2 years ago. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Communications Officer Emma White. Her fingers moved quickly across her console. 3 ships approaching from Sector 4. Taylor frowned. "Identification?" "Vex military vessels. Destroyer class." The bridge fell silent. Taylor straightened his uniform. "Keep broadcasting our medical status. They know who we are." On the view screen, 3 dark ships appeared against the stars. Their angular shapes contrasted sharply with the smooth curves of the human vessel. They moved with purpose, formation tight. "They're hailing us," Emma said. "Put them through," Taylor ordered. The screen flickered, but instead of showing a Vex commander, it remained dark. A harsh, electronic voice spoke in broken human language. "Human vessel, you violate territory. Leave now." Taylor stepped forward. "This is Captain James Taylor of the UMS Mercy. We are a hospital ship on a humanitarian mission. We carry wounded from the Colony 7 mining disaster. We have proper clearance to pass through this sector according to the Galactic Medical Corps Treaty, which your government signed." Silence followed. The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. "Captain," said the weapons officer, John Adams, his voice low. "They're charging weapons." Taylor's eyes widened. "That's impossible. Broadcast our medical status on emergency channels. Send visual proof of our patients." "Broadcasting now," Emma confirmed, her voice tight with tension. "Shields, up," Taylor ordered. "Sir, our shields are minimal. We're a hospital ship." "I know. Do what you can." The first blast hit before their shields were fully raised. The ship shuddered violently, throwing several crew members to the floor. Red alert klaxons blared throughout the vessel. "Damage report," Taylor shouted over the noise. "Direct hit on Deck 4. Medical Bay 2 has been breached," reported the damage control officer, his face pale. "We have casualties." Dr. Miller grabbed her medical kit. "I need to get down there." "Go," Taylor ordered. As she ran from the bridge, he turned to communications. "Keep broadcasting. Tell them they're firing on patients, on doctors." The second blast hit harder than the first, sending sparks flying. From several consoles, the lights flickered and dimmed as emergency power kicked in. "Engineering reports shield generators are failing," reported Officer Green. "2 more hits and we're defenseless." Taylor hit the ship-wide communication button. "All personnel, this is the captain. Move all patients to inner medical bays. Prepare for emergency procedures." On the view screen, the 3 Vex ships circled like predators. Their next shots were precise, targeting the ship's engines. The deck beneath them shook violently. A support beam crashed down, narrowly missing the navigation console. "Engines are hit. We're losing power." Taylor grabbed the console as the ship lurched sideways. "Launch distress beacons. All channels." "Sir, look." Adams pointed at the screen. One of the Vex ships had moved directly in front of them, its weapons, ports glowing with energy. "They're targeting our life support systems," Adams said, his voice barely a whisper. Taylor stared at the enemy ship, disbelief written across his face. "Why? We're unarmed. We're doctors. We're healers." The blast that followed threw Taylor across the bridge. When he struggled to his feet, half the consoles were dark. Smoke filled the air, and emergency medical alarms screamed through the ship. "Casualties. Reported on all decks," came a broken voice over the communication system. "Medical Bay 3 is gone, just gone." Taylor pulled himself to the communication station where Emma sat, blood trickling from a cut on her forehead. "Send everything," he told her. "All logs, all video. Show what they did here." She nodded, fingers dancing across the remaining functional systems. "Captain, they're leaving," Adams said in surprise. On the damaged view screen, the 3 Vex ships were turning away, apparently satisfied with the destruction they had caused. Taylor coughed through the smoke. "They think we're dead, or will be. Soon." He hit the emergency communication channel. "This is Captain Taylor to all decks. Report status." The replies came slowly, each worse than the last. Medical Bay 2 completely destroyed. 37 medical staff dead or missing. Over 50 patients lost in the initial blast. Life support failing on 3 decks. Dr. Miller's voice came through, strained and desperate. "James, we're losing them. The life support for the critical patients is failing. We need help." Taylor looked at the communication console. The distress signal was broadcasting, but they were far from the nearest human outpost. Help would take hours, maybe days. "Divert all remaining power to medical systems and life support," he ordered. "Shut down everything else if you have to." As the bridge crew worked frantically to keep the ship alive, Taylor moved to the view screen, now showing only the stars and the retreating shapes of the Vex ships. "They fired on a hospital ship," he whispered, his hands forming fists at his sides. Blood dripped from a wound on his arm, unnoticed. "They fired on the wounded, on doctors, trying to help." Behind him, his crew worked in the smoke and flickering emergency lights, desperately trying to save what remained of the UMS Mercy and its hundreds of vulnerable patients. In the silence of space, the crippled white ship drifted, its red crosses, now broken and scorched, as the automated distress beacon screamed a message to anyone who could hear. "This is UMS Mercy. Hospital ship under attack. Hundreds of patients at risk. We need immediate assistance." This is UMS Mercy. The room fell silent as the video ended. On the large screen, the final image froze. The UMS Mercy drifting in space, its white hull blackened and torn, red medical crosses broken and scarred by weapon fire. Admiral William Stone stood at the front of the United Earth Council chamber. His weathered face remained calm, but his eyes burned with barely controlled anger. "That was the last transmission from the UMS Mercy," he said, his deep voice filling the quiet room. "Rescue ships reached them 6 hours after the attack. 78 patients and 42 medical staff died. Over 100 more are badly hurt." Voices rose across the chamber as council members began to speak all at once. Some shouted for war, others demanded immediate action. The president of the United Earth Council, Helen Grant, raised her hand, and the room gradually quieted. "The Vex government claims they know nothing about this attack," she said. "They say these were rogue ships acting without orders." General Michael Ross stood up, his face red with anger. "That's a lie. We tracked those ships back to a Vex military base. This was a planned attack." The council erupted again. People rose from their seats, shouting and pointing. Admiral Stone waited for the noise to die down. "We have a decision to make," he said. "How will humanity respond?" General Ross slammed his fist on the table. "We respond with force. They attacked an unarmed hospital ship. They killed doctors and patients. We should strike back 10 times harder." Many council members nodded and voiced their agreement. "Admiral," Stone shook his head, "if we do that, we become just like them. We need to be better than them. Being better won't bring back our dead," someone shouted from the back of the room. President Grant stood up. "We will vote on our response in 24 hours. Until then, I want all options on the table, not just military ones." As the meeting broke up, Admiral Stone walked slowly toward the exit. A young officer hurried to catch up with him. "Admiral, there's someone who wants to speak with you," the officer said. "A scientist from the Earth Observatory. He says it's urgent." Stone nodded. "Send him to my office." 30 minutes later, Dr. Tom Wilson stood nervously in front of Admiral Stone's desk. He was a thin man with wild gray hair and glasses that kept sliding down his nose. "Thank you for seeing me, Admiral," he said, placing his tablet on the desk. "I've been studying the data from the UMS Mercy attack and I found something strange." Stone leaned forward. "What kind of strange?" "Energy readings from the planet below where the attack happened." Wilson tapped his tablet, and a 3D image appeared above it. "This is planet GX-437. The Vex have a small mining operation there. What about it?" "The planet has unusual properties. During the attack, our sensors picked up energy spikes from the surface, like the planet was responding to the violence." Stone frowned. "That sounds impossible." "I thought so too until I analyzed more data." Wilson adjusted his glasses. "The planet has massive crystal formations just below its surface. These crystals seem to amplify and respond to electromagnetic signals. When the Vex fired on the Mercy, the crystals reacted. How does this help us, Doctor?" Wilson's eyes lit up with excitement. "What if we could use these crystals, not as weapons, but as something else? Something the Vex would never expect." For the first time since the attack, Admiral Stone felt a spark of hope. "Tell me more." The news of the hospital ship attack spread quickly across Earth and all human colonies. Video of the crippled UMS Mercy played on screens everywhere. People gathered in public spaces, watching in horror as the footage showed medical staff trying to save patients while their ship fell apart around them. In a hospital in New London, a nurse named Mary Jones wiped tears from her eyes as she watched. 3 of her friends had been on that ship. Only one had survived. "How could they do this?" she asked the doctor standing beside her. "Who attacks doctors trying to help people?" The doctor shook his head. "I don't know, but I hope we don't become like them when we respond." On the main Vex communication channel, their supreme commander stood tall, addressing not only his people, but also sending the message to human space. "The Vex Empire denies any involvement in the attack on the human medical vessel," he said, his translator changing his clicking language to human words. These were criminals acting without authority. We have launched an investigation. In the Earth Council's Intelligence Center, analysts watched the broadcast. "He's lying," said one. "Our spies confirm the attack was ordered by their military command." "Why would they attack a hospital ship?" asked another. "It makes no sense." "Maybe they wanted to test our response," suggested a third. "To see how humans react when pushed." At Earth Science Headquarters, Dr. Tom Wilson led a team working around the clock. The large laboratory was filled with scientists from different fields: geologists, physicists, biologists, and engineers. "The crystals on GX437 have unique properties," Wilson explained to the group. "They don't just amplify energy, they can transmit emotions and experiences. The Vex have been mining them for weapons, but we can use them differently." Anna Richards, an environmental engineer, studied the crystal samples. "These respond to organic matter in amazing ways," she said. "When I connected them to plant tissue, they created a sort of network." Colonel Mark Johnson, a military strategist assigned to the project, frowned. "How does this help us respond to an attack that killed over 100 people?" Wilson smiled. "What if, instead of killing Vex soldiers, we could make them feel what they did? Make them experience the terror and pain they caused?" The room fell silent as people considered his words. "We could connect these crystals to Earth's natural systems," Anna suggested. "Plants, water, air, they all carry electrical impulses. Combined with human input, we could create something the Vex would never expect." Colonel Johnson slowly nodded. "Not a weapon of destruction, but a weapon of truth." He stood up straight. "I need to take this to Admiral Stone immediately." In his private office, Admiral Stone finished reading the report from Dr. Wilson's team. For the first time since the attack, he smiled. "Project Harmony," he said softly, looking at the name on the cover. "Let's show the Vex how humans really respond to an attack." He reached for his communication device and called President Grant. "Madam President, I have an alternative to war, something that might change everything." As he explained the plan, his eyes drifted to the photo on his desk. His daughter was a doctor on the UMS Mercy. She had survived, but many of her friends and patients had not. "We won't forget what they did," he whispered after ending the call. "But we will respond in a way they'll never forget either." Outside, his window. Earth turned slowly in the blackness of space, its blue oceans and green lands peaceful under swirling white clouds, unaware that it was about to become the most powerful weapon humanity had ever wielded. The laboratory hummed with activity as Dr. Tom Wilson peered through a powerful microscope. On the screen beside him, the internal structure of a crystal from planet GX437 appeared in stunning detail. The crystal's lattice pattern glowed with tiny points of light that moved and shifted like living things. "Incredible," he whispered. "It's almost like they're alive." Anna Richards looked up from her own workstation. "The energy patterns remind me of neural networks. They communicate with each other." Tom nodded, his excitement growing. He had been working non-stop for 3 days, sleeping only when his body demanded it. The United Earth Council had given their team unlimited resources after Admiral Stone presented their initial findings. "Have you seen what happens when we introduce organic material?" Anna asked, motioning Tom over to her station. On her screen, a crystal sample sat connected to a small patch of living moss. As they watched, pulses of light traveled between the plant and the crystal. "The crystal is picking up the plant's electrical signals," Anna explained. "But it's not just copying them, it's amplifying them and sending back its own patterns." Colonel Mark Johnson entered the lab, followed by 3 officers carrying sealed containers. "We have more samples," he announced. "And I've brought something else you might want to see." The colonel placed a data pad on the main table. It showed detailed scans of the Vex mining operation on GX437. "Our spy drones confirmed it," he said. "The Vex are using these crystals in their weapon systems. They've discovered the amplification properties, but not the full potential." Tom studied the images. "They're treating the crystals like simple power sources. They don't understand what they really have." "Which gives us an advantage," the colonel replied. "The president wants an update on Project Harmony. What can I tell her?" Tom took a deep breath. "Tell her we need volunteers. People who were there, who can share what they experienced during the attack. In a quiet room at Earth Central Hospital, Captain James Taylor sat beside Dr. Lisa Miller's bed. Her face was pale with bandages covering burns on the left side. She had been one of the lucky ones rescued from the damaged UMS Mercy. "They want us to do what?" Lisa asked, her voice still weak. "They're calling it emotional recording," James explained. "Dr. Wilson's team has found a way to capture our memories and feelings about the attack using these crystals." Lisa looked out the window at the blue sky. "So instead of bombing the Vex, they want to make them feel what we felt?" James nodded. "Admiral Stone believes it's the best way to respond, not with more violence, but with truth." Lisa closed her eyes, remembering the explosions, the screams of patience, the desperate fight to save lives as their ship fell apart around them. "When do we start?" she asked. On the 8th day after the attack, Dr. Wilson's team made their breakthrough. "It works," Anna shouted, drawing everyone to her station. On her screen, a 3D model showed a network of crystals connected to Earth's biosphere. Plants, water systems, and atmospheric patterns all linked together through the crystal network. "The Earth itself becomes part of the transmission system," she explained. "Its natural rhythms and patterns enhance the emotional signals." Tom stared at the model in wonder. "Earth becomes our amplifier." "But will it be strong enough?" Colonel Johnson asked. "The Vex homeworld is light years away. That's why we need to do this on GX-437, Tom replied. "We use its crystal network as the main broadcaster with Earth as the source." Admiral Stone, who had been quietly observing from the back of the room, stepped forward. "How many crystals would you need to transport there?" "Not many," Tom said. "We just need enough to establish the initial connection. The planet's own crystal network will do the rest." The Admiral nodded. "I'll arrange a stealth team. Colonel Johnson, you'll lead it." "One more thing," Anna added. "We need to connect the crystals to living Earth matter. Plants, soil, water, as much as we can safely transport. So we literally bring pieces of Earth to another planet," said the Admiral, a small smile forming on his face. "I like the symbolism." 3 days later, Dr. Wilson stood in a special chamber, surrounded by volunteers from the UMS Mercy. 20 survivors, doctors, nurses, and patients, sat in circles, each holding a small crystal connected to a central array. "Focus on your memories," Tom instructed gently. "Remember what happened, how you felt. The crystals will record everything." Captain James Taylor closed his eyes, holding his crystal tightly. In his mind, he returned to the bridge of the Mercy, feeling again the shock and disbelief as the Vex ships opened fire. He remembered the terror, the desperate struggle to save his crew and patients, the grief for those lost. Beside him, Dr. Lisa Miller's tears fell onto her crystal as she recalled operating on a child while the room around her crumbled. The crystals in their hands began to glow with soft blue light. "It's working," Anna whispered to Tom. "The emotional patterns are incredibly strong." Tom checked the readings on his tablet. The crystals are storing everything, not just memories, but the emotional truth behind them. In a corner of the room, Admiral Stone watched quietly. His daughter, a junior doctor from the Mercy, sat among the volunteers, her crystal glowing brightly as she shared her experience. In a secure military hangar, Colonel Johnson's team prepared for their mission. The stealth ship was small but advanced, designed to slip past any detection systems. Inside its cargo hold, special containers held Earth soil, water samples, plant specimens, and the precious crystals, now charged with the memories of the Mercy survivors. "Remember," Johnson told his team, "this isn't a combat mission. We're not there to fight the Vex. We're bringing truth." One of his officers, Lieutenant David Brown, looked uncertain. "Sir, my brother was a patient on the Mercy. He didn't make it. Part of me still wants revenge." Johnson placed a hand on the young man's shoulder. "This is stronger than revenge. We're not just punishing them. We're making them understand what they did. That's something weapons can't do." On the observation deck of Earth Central Command, Admiral Stone and Dr. Wilson watched as the stealth ship disappeared into the darkness of space. How long until they reach GX-437? Stone asked. 3 days if they avoid Vex patrols, Tom replied. Meanwhile, we continue our work here. He gestured to the large chamber below them, where engineers were constructing a massive array of crystals connected to soil and water from Earth's oceans, forests, and deserts. Earth's network will activate once the team establishes connection on GX-437, Tom explained. The combined signal should reach every Vex ship and colony in that sector. Admiral Stone looked thoughtful. Do you think it will work? Will they understand? Tom watched as more volunteers entered the chamber below, ready to share their experiences with the crystals. They've never faced anything like this before, he said. They understand weapons and war. They expect us to respond with violence. This is something new. As they spoke, reports came in that the Vex were gathering a massive fleet near their border. They were clearly expecting a human military response. They have no idea what's coming, Admiral Stone said quietly. The stealth ship glided silently through space, its advanced cloaking systems hiding it from Vex scanners. Inside the cramped command center, Colonel Mark Johnson studied the 3D map of planet GX-437. The blue-green world grew larger on their view screens as they approached. Scanners show heavy Vex activity in orbit, reported Lieutenant David Brown. They've doubled their fleet since our last intelligence update. Johnson nodded. They're expecting us to attack. That works in our favor. They'll be looking outward, not down at the planet. The mission specialist Paul Garcia joined them at the map. He had spent the journey studying Dr. Wilson's data on the crystal formations. We need to land here, Garcia said, pointing to a valley near the equator. Scans show the highest concentration of crystal networks beneath this region. It's the perfect spot to connect our Earth samples. Johnson studied the location. There's a Vex mining operation only 20 miles north of there. We need to be close to their crystals, Garcia explained. Our system has to tap into their existing network, which means we'll be right under their noses, Johnson concluded. Perfect. Back on Earth, the tension was growing. Reports came in hourly about Vex fleet movements. Their warships gathered along the border of human space, weapons ready. Military analysts predicted an attack within days. In the United Earth Council chamber, the debate continued. Many still pushed for a military response, arguing that Project Harmony was too risky, too untested. The Vex understand only one thing, force, General Ross insisted. While we play with crystals and plants, they prepare their weapons. Admiral Stone remained calm. Our fleet is ready if Project Harmony fails. But we must try this first, President. Grant nodded. The Admiral is right. We have a chance to end this without more bloodshed. As they spoke, Dr. Wilson's team worked frantically in the Earth connection chamber. The room had been transformed into a miniature ecosystem. Soil from 6 continents formed a circle. Water from Earth's major oceans flowed through clear tubes. Plants and trees from various ecosystems grew under special lights. At the center of it all stood Anna Richards, carefully placing crystal after crystal into the soil. Each crystal needs to touch Earth directly, she explained to her team. They need to form a bond with our planet's natural energy. One of her assistants looked doubtful. Can Earth really communicate through these crystals? It's not alive in the way we are. Anna smiled. Isn't it? Earth has rhythms, pulses, patterns. The movement of water, the growth of plants, the shifting of soil. It's all energy. The crystals don't care if we call it alive or not. They respond to the energy. On GX-437, Colonel Johnson's team moved silently through thick alien vegetation. They had landed under cover of darkness, their ship hidden beneath massive fern-like plants. Each team member carried special packs containing soil, water, and plants from Earth, along with the precious memory-charged crystals. 2 miles to the target site, Johnson whispered into his communication device. Around them, the strange forest of GX-437 pulsed with life. Plants glowed with faint blue light. The ground beneath their feet seemed to hum. Lieutenant Brown scanned the area with his handheld device. The crystal network is even larger than we thought. It's everywhere, just below the surface. Johnson nodded. Perfect for our needs. As they moved forward, A distant rumble made them freeze. Looking up through gaps in the canopy, they saw Vex ships moving through the night sky, more warships joining the gathering fleet. "They're still preparing for our attack," Johnson observed. "Good." After another hour of careful movement, they reached the valley Garcia had identified. It was a natural bowl surrounded by jagged hills. The ground glittered with tiny crystal fragments. "This is it," Garcia said, his voice filled with excitement. "The heart of the planet's crystal network." The team quickly unpacked their equipment. Following Dr. Wilson's detailed instructions, they placed containers of Earth soil in a wide circle. Each team member took responsibility for a section, carefully mixing the soil of Earth with the soil of GX-437. "Now the water," Johnson ordered. "Clear." Containers of Earth's water were opened. The team poured them into the soil mixture, creating a damp circle 30 feet across. As the Earth water touched the alien soil with its crystal fragments, a faint blue glow began to spread. "It's working," Garcia whispered. "The crystals are responding to Earth's elements." Next came the plants. Small trees, flowers, grasses, even moss and lichens, all carefully transported from Earth. They were planted in the mixed soil, their roots reaching down toward the crystal layer below. "Final step," Johnson said, opening a sealed container. Inside lay 20 crystals, each glowing with a soft light. These were the memory crystals, charged with the experiences of the UMS Mercy survivors. Johnson and his team placed them in a smaller circle at the center of their Earth garden. As the last crystal was positioned, the entire area began to pulse with light. The blue glow spread outward from their circle, moving through the ground like ripples in water. "The connection is forming," Garcia said, checking his instruments. "The planet's crystal network is responding." Johnson activated his secure communication, link to Earth. "Admiral Stone, Phase 1 is complete. Earth Garden is established and connecting with the planet's crystal network." In Earth's orbit, Admiral Stone's flagship, the UES Defender, hung motionless. Around it, 50 human warships formed a protective wall. They faced outward, toward the edge of the solar system, where sensors detected the approaching Vex fleet. "Colonel Johnson reports success on GX-437, an officer reported. "The Earth connection is established." Stone nodded. "And here?" "Dr. Wilson says the Earth connection chamber is ready. They await your order to activate." Stone moved to the large view screen showing Earth below them. From space, the blue planet looked peaceful, unaware of the danger approaching. "The Vex think they know us," he said quietly. "They expect us to act like them, to respond to violence with greater violence. They're prepared for our weapons, our ships, our soldiers." He turned to his officers. "But they have no defense against the truth." He pressed his communication device. "Dr. Wilson, you have permission to activate Earth's connection." In the Earth connection chamber, Dr. Wilson and Anna Richards stood at the control panel. Around them, the miniature ecosystem hummed with energy. The crystals embedded throughout the chamber glowed brightly. "Activating Earth connection in 3, 2, 1, Wilson said, pressing his hand to the control panel. The crystals flared with brilliant light. The soil trembled. The water in the tubes began to spiral and dance. Plants swayed as if in a gentle breeze, though the air in the chamber was still. "It's beautiful," Anna whispered. On screens around the chamber, data flowed as the Earth's natural systems connected to the crystals. Soil vibrations, water currents, plant electrical signals, all merged with the emotional memories stored in the crystals. "Earth is sharing itself," Tom said in wonder. "Its rhythms, its life, its balance." Outside, the chamber volunteers, survivors from the UMS Mercy, gathered in a circle holding hands. As Earth connected with the crystals, they closed their eyes, adding their present emotions to the memories already stored. The signal grew stronger, spreading through the Earth's crust, carried by the planet's natural electromagnetic field, amplified by the crystal network. On his flagship, Admiral Stone received the confirmation. "Earth connection active. Signal transmitting to GX-437. He looked out at the stars toward where the Vex fleet approached, unaware that humanity's response was already underway. Now we wait, he said. The massive Vex fleet moved through space in perfect formation. 100 warships, their dark hulls gleaming with weapon ports, approached the edge of Earth's solar system. On the command deck of the lead ship, Supreme Commander Rax studied the tactical display. Human fleet detected, reported his second-in-command. 50 ships in defensive formation around their home planet. Rax clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. This was exactly what he had expected. The humans were predictable, responding to the hospital ship attack exactly as planned, with military force. Prepare all weapons, he ordered. Target their largest, vessels first. As the Vex ships moved forward, their sensors detected no unusual activity. The human fleet remained in position, neither advancing nor retreating. Unusual, Rax muttered. They should be moving to engage. His tactical officer looked up from his station. Perhaps they fear our superior numbers. Rax was not convinced. Something felt wrong. The humans were known for their aggressive responses to threats. This passive defense was unlike them. Scan for hidden ships or weapon platforms, he ordered. They may be planning an ambush. On planet GX-437, Colonel Johnson and his team watched as the Earth garden they had created pulsed with increasing light. The blue glow had spread for miles through the underground crystal network, growing stronger by the minute. Earth's signal is fully connected now, Garcia reported, checking his instruments. The planet's entire crystal network is carrying our transmission. Johnson nodded, his eyes on the night sky where Vex ships moved in orbit above them. Is it strong enough to reach their fleet? Garcia smiled. It's already reaching them. They just don't know it yet. In Earth orbit, Admiral Stone stood calmly on the bridge of the UES Defender. His officers watched nervously as the Vex fleet approached, now just minutes away from weapon range. Sir, shouldn't we move to engage? Asked his first officer. Stone shook his head. Our job is to wait. Project Harmony is already working. He turned to his communication officer. Status of Earth connection? Dr. Wilson reports maximum output, sir. Earth's signal is transmitting at full strength through GX-437's crystal network. Stone nodded. Now we find out if truth is stronger than weapons. On the Vex command ship, Supreme Commander Rax suddenly froze. A strange sensation washed over him, a feeling not his own. For a moment, he felt fear, confusion, pain. Images flashed in his mind. A white ship with red crosses, humans in medical uniforms, patients in beds. What is this? He gasped, gripping his command chair. Around him, other Vex officers showed similar signs of distress. Some clutched their heads, others stared into space as if seeing something no one else could see. Commander, his tactical officer said, voice shaking. Something is affecting the crew, all crews. Reports coming in from every ship. Rax tried to focus, but the foreign feelings grew stronger. Now he was seeing through human eyes, feeling what they felt as Vex weapons struck their hospital ship. He felt the terror of doctors trying to save patients as their ship broke apart. He experienced the pain of the wounded, the desperation of the trapped. It's the humans, he whispered. They're making us feel what we did to them. The sensation changed. Now Rax felt something else, the steady rhythm of a living planet. Earth's oceans, forests, mountains, all connected in a vast network of life. It was alien to him, yet somehow familiar. His own world had once had such balance, before centuries of war and industry had damaged it. Throughout the Vex fleet, crews experienced the same thing. Ships began to drift out of formation as pilots lost focus, overwhelmed by the emotional and sensory input flooding through them. In the Earth connection chamber, Dr. Wilson and Anna Richards watched in amazement as their instruments recorded the transmission's effects. It's working better than we predicted, Anna said. The combined Earth signals and emotional memories are creating a feedback loop through the crystal networks. Tom checked another reading. The Vex ships are losing formation. Their communications are chaotic. Around them, the Earth ecosystem continued to pulse with energy. Plants swayed, water spiraled, soil vibrated. all in harmony with the emotions of the UMS Mercy survivors who stood in their circle, eyes closed, hands joined. On GX-437, Colonel Johnson received the update from Earth. The Vex fleet is responding to the transmission, he told his team. They're experiencing everything, the attack, the victims, and Earth's connection. Lieutenant Brown, whose brother had died on the Mercy, looked up at the sky. Do you think they understand now? Do they feel what we felt? Johnson put a hand on his shoulder. That's the whole point, not to destroy them, but to make them understand. As they spoke, the Earth Garden's glow intensified. The plants seemed to grow before their eyes, reaching upward. The mixed soil trembled and shifted. The crystal network beneath them pulsed like a heartbeat. The planet itself is enhancing our signal, Garcia said in wonder. It's like GX-437 is joining with Earth, amplifying our message. In Earth orbit, Admiral Stone watched as the Vex fleet fell into disarray. Ships drifted, some moving away, others floating powerless. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Vex command ship, reported his communications officer. On the view screen, Supreme Commander Rax appeared. His alien features looked strained, his movements jerky. Humans, he said, his translator, making his words sound flat. What have you done to us? Admiral Stone stepped forward. We shared truth with you. The truth of what you did to our hospital ship. The truth of who we are. The truth of our world. Rax's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of distress in Vex body language. We feel everything. Your pain. Your world's life. That's our response to your attack, Stone said calmly. Not more death. Understanding. Rax seemed to struggle internally. Our council ordered the attack to test your response, to see if humans would react with full military force, giving us reason to launch a greater war. And now? Stone asked. Now we know you better than we intended, Rax replied. Our fleet is withdrawing. I request a meeting to discuss peace. 3 weeks later, on a rebuilt section of the UMS Mercy, Admiral Stone watched as Captain Sir James Taylor and Dr. Lisa Miller greeted the Vex representatives. The hospital ship had been chosen as the meeting place, a powerful symbol of healing over harm. In the ship's main conference room, humans and Vex sat together around a table. At the center stood a small earth garden with crystals embedded in the soil. Supreme Commander Rax approached it cautiously. Your response has changed us. Many of our people experienced the transmission. They now understand what war truly costs. President Grant nodded. And your world? Will you continue mining the crystals? For weapons? No, Rax replied. We have seen a better use for them. Our scientists are studying how to use them for healing, as you have shown us. Dr. Wilson, who had been invited to the meeting, stepped forward. The crystals connect worlds. They could help both our peoples understand each other better. That is our hope, Rax agreed. We have lived too long by the old way, strength through fear. You have shown us another path, strength through understanding. As they spoke, the small earth garden glowed softly. Plants from both worlds now grew together in the mixed soil, their roots intertwined around the crystals below. On the observation deck, Captain Taylor stood with Dr. Miller looking out at the stars. When they attacked us, I wanted revenge, he admitted. I never imagined this outcome. Lisa nodded. They fired on a hospital ship, and we responded by healing their understanding. By working with the Earth, James added, watching as a Vex medical officer approached them, carrying a small crystal that pulsed with gentle light. Our worlds can learn from each other, the Vex said, offering the crystal. This is from our home. It responds to life as yours do. Perhaps together they can help us build something new. As James accepted the crystal, he felt a warm pulse of energy, not just from the crystal but from the ship beneath his feet, from Earth in the distance, and from the hope that grew between two peoples who had found a better way to resolve their differences. In the darkness of space, the UMS Mercy glowed with renewed purpose, its red crosses once again symbols of healing rather than targets, as humanity's most powerful response proved to be not the force of weapons, but the strength that comes from working with the Earth and sharing truth. The lights flickered again in the command center of Frontier Station. Commander Jack Miller looked up from the display table and frowned. This was the third power drop today. Not good. Anna, how bad is it? He asked. Chief Engineer Anna Reed didn't look up from her tablet. Dark circles hung under her eyes. She hadn't slept more than 3 hours at a time in weeks. Bad, she said simply. Reactor 3 is completely gone. Reactor 2 is working at 60%. If we lose one... She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. If they lost Reactor 1, 300 colonists would die. It was that simple. Jack walked to the large window that overlooked the mining colony. 5 years ago, Frontier Station had been humanity's proudest achievement. A self-sustaining colony 40 light-years from Earth. The first step in humanity's grand plan to spread across the stars. Now, most of it lay in ruins. The outer sectors were already lost, their buildings crushed and torn apart. The defensive wall around the central hub, their last stand, showed more damage every day. Beyond the wall, in the strange half-light of the alien world, dark shapes moved, thousands of them. The swarm. Nobody knew where they came from. 3 months ago, the first scout ships detected unusual movement in the hills beyond the colony. 2 days later, the first attack came. Since then, it had been a slow, grinding retreat toward the center of the colony. Sir, called out Luis, their communications officer. Still no response to our distress signal. Jack nodded. He hadn't expected one. 3 months of silence told the story clearly enough. Earth wasn't coming. They were on their own. Keep trying, he said anyway. Hope was all they had left. The door to the command center slid open with a hiss. Dr. Phil Barnes, the colony's lead scientist, walked in. His face was grim. We lost Rogers and Martinez, he said quietly. Jack closed his eyes for a moment. 2 more good people gone. 2 more friends he'd failed to protect. How? He asked. Repair mission to the south sensor array. The swarm broke through faster than we predicted. They never had a chance to get back. Anna slammed her hand on the console. That's it. No more repair missions outside the inner wall. We can't afford to lose anyone else. We can't afford to lose those sensors either, Jack countered. Without them, we're blind. And without people, we're dead, Anna shot back. Jack didn't argue. She was right. Everyone in the room knew they were just buying time. But for what? A miracle that wasn't coming? Meeting in 1 hour, Jack announced. All department heads. We need to talk about our options. The word options hung in the air. Everyone knew they were running out of those too. The colony's main meeting room was designed to hold 50 people. Today it held 12, all that remained of Frontier's leadership. Jack stood at the front, facing tired faces. These were not the bright-eyed pioneers who had arrived at Frontier 5 years ago. These were survivors hanging on by willpower alone. Our situation is critical, Jack began. No point sugarcoating it. Food supplies will last another 28 days if we stick to half rations. Water recycling is still working, but the purification system is failing. Anna estimates 2 weeks before we have to switch to emergency reserves. And weapons? Asked Martin, the head of security. Running low, Jack admitted. The pulse rifles still work against them, but we're down to 30% ammunition. The automated turrets on the west wall are offline. East and north are functioning, but overheating. Phil Barnes raised his hand. The latest samples show the swarm is evolving. Their outer shells are getting thicker. Our weapons are becoming less effective with each attack. A murmur went through the room. This was new and terrifying information. Can we adapt our weapons? Jack asked. Phil shook his head. Not with what we have here. We'd need resources, equipment, which we don't have, Anna finished. The room fell silent. Jack looked at each face, seeing the same question in all of them. Why hadn't Earth responded? A distress signal at light speed would have reached Earth within weeks. Even if they couldn't send help immediately, they should have answered. I think we need to face facts, said Eva, the medical chief. Earth isn't coming. Maybe they can't. Maybe they won't. Either way, we're on our own. No one disagreed. They'd all had the same thought. So what are our options? Martin asked. Jack took a deep breath. We have the emergency bunkers beneath the central hub. They were designed to withstand geological disasters. If we move everyone there, seal the entrances. We might buy some time, Anna nodded. But that's all time. Without supplies, without a way to fight back. She didn't need to finish, everyone understood. The bunkers would become their tombs. There's another option, Martin said quietly. The Colony Charter, Section 88. A heavy silence fell over the room. Section 88 was the self-destruct protocol, a last resort to prevent colony technology from falling into hostile hands. No, Jack said firmly. That's not an option, not while we still have people to protect. It might be kinder than what awaits us when the swarm finally breaks through, Martin argued. Enough, Jack cut him off. We're not there yet. Anna, how long until our final barrier is breached at the current rate? Anna consulted her tablet. Based on their attack patterns and our remaining defenses, 2 weeks. Maybe less if they speed up. Then we have 2 weeks to find another way, Jack said with more confidence than he felt. Dismissed. Get some rest. All of you. Tomorrow we start moving non-essential personnel to the bunkers. As the room emptied, Jack stayed behind, staring at the colony map projected on the table. So much lost already. So much sacrifice. Anna lingered by the door. There's something else, she said when they were alone. I've been analyzing the swarm's attack patterns. They're not just getting stronger, they're getting smarter. Learning our defenses, our weak points. What are you saying? I'm saying we might not have 2 weeks. The way they're adapting, we might have days. Jack looked back at the map, at the tiny area of safety they had left. Then we make each day count, he said. We owe them that much. As if to punctuate his words, the lights flickered again, and somewhere in the distance an alarm began to wail. Admiral Tom Hayes stood tall before the United Earth Defense Council. His gray uniform, decorated with medals from 20 years of service, was perfectly pressed, but his patience was wearing thin. We are wasting time, he said, his deep voice filling the grand chamber. Every minute we talk, more people die on Frontier Station. The semicircular room housed 15 council members. They sat behind a curved table, looking down at Tom from their raised platform. Behind them, a massive window showed Earth's blue curve against the blackness of space. A beautiful view that Tom had no time to admire today. Council Leader Wilson shook his head. Admiral Hayes, we understand your concern, but what you're asking for is impossible. You want us to send almost every available military ship to a colony 40 light-years away? I want us to keep our promise, Tom replied. When we sent those colonists out, we promised they wouldn't be abandoned. Ben Parker, the youngest council member, laughed without humor. And risk Earth's safety for 300 miners? The math doesn't add up, Admiral. Tom fought to keep his temper in check. He had expected resistance, but not this cold calculation of human lives. Let me remind this council what those miners mean to us, Tom said. Frontier Station sits on the richest deposit of xerium ore in known space. Without that ore, our new fold space drives don't work. Without those drives, humanity stays trapped in this solar system. This wasn't the real reason Tom was fighting so hard, but he knew the council would respond to practical concerns better than moral ones. The colony is probably already lost, said Council Member Diana Lee. The distress signal is 3 months old. By the time we get there, we can get there in 3 weeks, Tom interrupted. The new drives are ready. This would be their first major test, but my engineers are confident. The council members exchanged surprised looks. Most didn't have clearance to know how far the fold space technology had advanced. Wilson leaned forward. 3 weeks instead of 40 years, that changes things, but the risk is enormous, Tom admitted. We'd be jumping further than any ship has before, but the alternative is abandoning our people to die. The room fell silent. Tom knew what they were thinking. The cost, the risk, the political fallout if it failed. There's something else you should know, Tom said quietly. My daughter Anna is stationed on Frontier. She's their chief engineer. Murmurs filled the room. Wilson frowned. Admiral, you should have disclosed this conflict of interest. It's not why I'm here, Tom said firmly. I'd be making the same argument if Anna wasn't there. But yes, it's personal for me. Just as it should be personal for all of us. These are our people. The council began to debate among themselves. Tom stood silently, waiting. Through the window, he could see a fleet of ships in orbit. Ships that could save Frontier Station, if the council had the courage to act. Finally, Wilson called for a vote. All in favor of authorizing Operation Homecoming, raise your hand. 8 hands went up, 8 out of 15. A majority, but barely. The motion passes, Wilson announced. Admiral Hayes, you have your mission. God help you if you fail. Tom nodded sharply and left without another word. There was no time to waste. The space dock was a hive of activity. Ships of all sizes were being loaded with supplies and weapons. Crews rushed to their stations. The largest military mobilization in Earth's history was happening in record time. Tom stood on the command deck of the flagship Guardian, watching the organized chaos through the viewport. His second-in-command, Captain Ryan Cooper, approached, with a tablet. Final count, sir. 157 ships ready for departure, 35 heavy cruisers, 62 frigates, 40 support vessels, and 20 medical ships. What about the fold space drives? Tom asked. Installed on all ships. The engineers say they're as ready as they'll ever be. Tom nodded. It would have to be enough. Time to address the fleet, he said. Ryan activated the ship-wide communication system. Tom's voice would reach not just the Guardian but every ship in the Armada. This is Admiral Hayes. In 1 hour we embark on the most important mission of our lives. Many of you know what's at stake. 300 colonists on Frontier Station are fighting for survival against an unknown enemy. They've been holding out for months, believing help would come. Tom paused, thinking of Anna. Was she still alive? Still fighting? Today we prove they were right to believe. Today, we show that humanity stands together, no matter the distance between us. The journey will be dangerous. The fold space technology is new. The enemy is unknown. Some of us may not return. He looked around at his crew, seeing determination in their eyes. But this is why we exist. This is why Earth United was formed, after the climate wars and the civil conflict. We promised to protect all humans everywhere. Today we keep that promise. Tom switched off the comm and turned to Ryan. Begin boarding procedures. I want this fleet moving in 45 minutes. Yes, sir, Ryan replied, then hesitated. Sir, about your daughter? What about her? We'll find her, sir. We'll bring her home. Tom appreciated the sentiment, but he'd been in too many battles to make promises he couldn't keep. We'll do our job, Captain. That's all we can do. On the lower decks of the Guardian, Lieutenant Kate Ward inspected her weapons team. 20 men, and women who would operate the ship's main guns when they reached Frontier Station. They needed to be perfect. The swarm adapts to attacks, she told them, reviewing what little information they had. This means we can't rely on the same weapon twice. We need to vary our approach, keep them guessing. A young ensign raised his hand. Ma'am, how do we fight something we know almost nothing about? Kate smiled grimly. We learn fast, we adapt, faster than they do, and we hit them with everything we've got. The team nodded, but Kate could see the worry in their eyes. She understood. They were heading into the unknown, facing an enemy that had already decimated a colony. An announcement echoed through the ship. All personnel, prepare for departure. Fold space jump in 20 minutes. Kate dismissed her team to their stations and headed for the bridge. As she walked, she felt the ship humming with power. The fold space drive was charging up. Outside, the 157 ships of Earth's Armada moved into jump formation. It was a sight no human had ever seen before. The combined might of Earth united for a single mission. In the command center, Admiral Tom Hayes gave the final order. All ships, prepare for fold space jump. Next stop, Frontier Station. Let's bring our people home. The stars began to blur as the fabric of space bent around the mighty fleet. Earth's greatest armada vanished in a flash of light, racing across the galaxy to keep a promise. The first jump was perfect. One moment, Earth's massive fleet hung in orbit around their home planet. The next, they were 20 light-years away, stars in unfamiliar patterns surrounding them. Admiral Tom Hayes let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. On the main view screen of the Guardian's bridge, he could see other ships appearing one by one, their hulls gleaming as they emerged from fold space. "Status report," he ordered. Captain Ryan Cooper checked the incoming signals. 153 ships accounted for, Admiral. 4 still missing. Tom frowned. 4 ships lost on the first jump. Not as bad as the engineers had feared, but each ship carried hundreds of crew members. "Keep scanning for them," Tom said. "They might be delayed." "Yes, sir." Deep in the Guardian's science lab, Lieutenant Kate Ward studied the limited data they had on the swarm. The information came from Frontier Station's early reports before their situation became desperate. "They move like insects," she told her team, pointing to blurry images. "But they're the size of small cars. Their outer shell is hard, getting harder with each attack." "What kills them?" asked Jones, her weapons specialist. "Energy weapons worked. At first. Then they adapted." Kate pulled up another image. "Later reports show they had to use mining explosives, but those supplies are limited." The lab door opened, and Admiral Hayes walked in. Everyone stood at attention. "At ease," he said. "What have you got for me, Lieutenant?" Kate showed him their findings. "Sir, we need to hit them with everything we have, all at once. Different weapons, different approaches, don't give them time to adapt." Tom nodded. "Good thinking. Keep working on it. We jump again in 6 hours." As the Admiral left, Kate returned to her analysis. Something about the swarm's behavior bothered her. They weren't just attacking randomly. There was a pattern, an intelligence behind their movements. If she could understand it, the second jump was rougher. The Guardian shuddered as it tore through fold space. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. "Drive stress at 80%, called the engineering officer. "Structural integrity holding, but only just." Tom gripped his chair. "Hold it together," he whispered, though whether to the ship or himself he wasn't sure. With a final violent shake, the Guardian emerged from fold space. The stars had changed position again. They were now 30 light-years from Earth. "Ship status?" Tom asked. "Minor damage to decks 5 through 8. No casualties. Fold space drive needs 6 hours to cool down before another jump." Tom nodded, then looked at the fleet report. His heart sank. "How many?" 12 ships didn't make it, sir," Ryan said quietly, "including the medical ship Mercy." The bridge fell silent. Nearly 3,000 people gone in an instant. The price of their mission was already high. "Signal the remaining ships," Tom finally said. "Full systems check. I want damage reports within the hour." As the crew followed his orders, Tom stared at the view screen. Just one more jump to reach Frontier Station. One more roll of the dice with all their lives. In the mess hall, Kate sat with her team. The mood was somber after losing 12 ships. "We signed up for this," she reminded them. "We knew the risks." "But did we?" asked Davis, a young ensign. "No one's ever jumped this far before." "That's why they call it courage," Kate replied. "Doing something even when you're afraid because it's right." A loud announcement interrupted their conversation. "All personnel report to emergency stations. Prepare for unscheduled fold space jump." Kate and her team looked at each other in alarm. The drives needed more time to cool down. An immediate jump was dangerous. They rushed to their stations. On the bridge, Admiral Hayes was coordinating with the fleet. "What's happening, sir?" Kate asked. "Long-range scan just picked up a signal from Frontier," Tom explained, his face grim. "The swarm has breached their inner defenses. We're out of time." Kate understood. They had to jump now, ready or not. "All ships, this is Admiral Hayes," Tom broadcast to the fleet. "We cannot wait. Frontier Station is falling. We jump in 5 minutes, no matter the risk. Any ship not ready must stay behind." Throughout the fleet, crews rushed to prepare. Engineers pushed fold space drives beyond safe limits. Weapons teams loaded all systems. Medical staff prepared for casualties. On the Guardian's bridge, the countdown began. 5 minutes to jump. Tom thought of Anna. Was she still alive? Would they arrive in time? 4 minutes. Kate checked the weapon systems one last time. They would need everything working perfectly when they arrived. 3 minutes. Ryan showed Tom the final count. 138 ships ready to jump. 7 staying behind with damage too severe to risk. 2 minutes. Across the fleet, captains gave their crews one last chance to leave their ships. No one did. 1 minute. Tom took a deep breath. Whatever happens, I'm proud of every one of you, he told his bridge crew. Today, we show what humanity stands for. 30 seconds. The fold space drives hummed, their pitch rising to a scream of tortured physics as they prepared to bend space itself. 10 seconds. Tom closed his eyes briefly. Hold on, Anna, he whispered. We're coming. 5. Kate gripped her console. 4. Ryan double-checked the coordinates one final time. 3. Engineers throughout the fleet pushed their drives to breaking. Point 2. The stars outside began to blur. 1. The universe seemed to hold its breath. Jump. Space folded around Earth's armada. The ships vanished in a flash of light, tearing through the fabric of reality toward Frontier Station. It was the longest jump ever attempted. If they survived, they would arrive in a system under siege, facing an unknown enemy. If they survived. The fold space transition lasted longer this time. Warning alarms blared throughout the Guardian. Metal groaned as forces beyond comprehension strained against the hull. On the bridge, screens exploded in showers of sparks. Hold together, Tom shouted, over the noise. Just when it seemed the ship would tear apart, there was a sudden silence. The view screen cleared. Before them hung a small blue-green planet, Frontier, and around it, thousands of dark shapes swarmed like angry insects, converging on a tiny point of light on the surface, the last stand of Frontier Station. We made it, Kate whispered. Tom's face hardened as he saw the scale of what they faced. Battle stations, all ships deploy, we have people to save. Earth's mightiest armada had arrived. The real fight was about to begin. The central hub of Frontier Station had become a fortress of desperation. Commander Jack Miller hadn't slept in 2 days. His uniform was torn and stained with blood, some his own, some from others he had dragged to safety. West Barrier is down, shouted a voice over the comm system. They're coming through! Jack turned to Anna, who was frantically working at the main control panel. How much longer? 5 minutes, she replied, not looking up. I need 5 more minutes to reroute emergency power to the bunker shields. 5 minutes they might not have. The swarm had broken through faster than anyone predicted. The last defensive line was collapsing around them. Martin, take your team to the west corridor, Jack ordered. Hold them off as long as you can. Martin, his face grim beneath a layer of dust, nodded and signaled to his remaining security personnel. They were down to 11 fighters, all carried, the last of their pulse rifles modified with whatever power enhancements Anna had been able to create. Good luck, Jack said. Save it for yourself, Martin replied with a thin smile. We'll see you in the bunker. They both knew it was a lie, but neither acknowledged it. Martin and his team left at a run. In the far corner of the command center, Mark Davis, a young technician, was bent over a makeshift analysis station. He'd been studying the swarm's movements for weeks, trying to understand them. Commander, he called suddenly. I found something. Jack hurried over. What is it? Mark pointed to his screen. I've been tracking their movement patterns. Look here, they always attack in waves, from different directions. But the waves aren't random, they're coordinated. We already know they work together, Jack said, impatient. No, it's more than that. Mark pulled up another screen. Their attacks change when we damage this specific type. He pointed to a slightly larger creature with distinctive markings. When we hit one of these, the others get confused for a few minutes. Jack stared at the screen. They're being controlled? I think so. Mark nodded excitedly. These bigger ones, they're like relays. And if that's true, there must be a central controller somewhere, Jack finished. His mind raced with the implications. Can you locate it? Mark's face fell. Not with what we have here. Our sensors are too damaged. It would take a full orbital scan to... A massive explosion shook the building, cutting him off. Alarms blared throughout the station. That was the east barrier, Anna shouted. We're surrounded. Jack made a quick decision. Mark, download everything you found. Anna, forget the rerouting. We need to evacuate now. But the bunker shields aren't at full strength, Anna protested. Better weak shields than no shields, Jack said. Sound the final evacuation. Everyone to the bunkers, now. The journey to the central bunker was a nightmare. The remaining colonists, 138 out of the original 300, moved through maintenance tunnels deep beneath the station. They could hear the swarm above them, tearing through the upper levels. Keep moving, Jack urged, helping an injured woman along. We're almost there. The bunker entrance loomed ahead, a massive steel door designed to withstand natural disasters. It wasn't built for alien invasions, but it was all they had left. Anna waited by the control panel, counting people as they entered. Her face was tight with worry. Martin's team isn't back. Jack didn't reply. They both knew what that meant. When the last of the civilians were inside, Anna hesitated. We should wait a little longer. A crash echoed through the tunnel behind them. The swarm had found the entrance. Close it, Jack ordered. Now. With tears in her eyes, Anna activated the door. Thick steel slid into place with a final, heavy thud. Inside the bunker, emergency lights cast everything in a dull red glow. The colonists huddled together, some crying quietly, others sitting in stunned silence. How long will the shields hold? Jack asked Anna privately. With the current power levels? Maybe 36 hours. Jack nodded. It wasn't long, but it was something. And after that? Anna met his eyes. I have one last option. She showed him her tablet. On it was a diagram of the station's main reactor. We can overload it, turn the whole place into a bomb. That would kill everyone, Jack said. Yes, Anna agreed. But it would take the swarm with us. Jack stared at the tablet, then at the frightened faces around them. Was this how it ended? Not with a victory, but with a final, desperate act of defiance? We'll keep it as a last resort, he said finally. For now, we keep fighting. A loud bang echoed through the bunker as something heavy struck the outer door. Then another. The swarm was testing their final sanctuary. Mark approached them, his young face determined despite his fear. I've compiled all my research on the controller theory. If anyone ever finds this place... He handed Jack a data chip. Thank you, Jack said, pocketing it. It won't be for nothing, I promise. The banging on the door grew louder. Small children whimpered and clung to their parents. Adults tried to look brave, but fear showed in every face. I should have stayed on Earth, someone whispered. We all should have. No, Jack said firmly, loud enough for everyone to hear. What we did here matters. We proved humans can live among the stars. Whatever happens now, no one can take that away. Anna checked the shield readouts again and frowned. Power fluctuations in Sector 3. That shouldn't be happening. Before she could investigate, the bunker's long-dead communication system suddenly crackled to life. Static filled the room, then cleared. A voice, unfamiliar, strong, human, spoke through the speakers. Frontier Station, this is Admiral Tom Hayes of the Earth Defense Fleet. Do you copy? Repeat, this is Earth Fleet. We have arrived in your system with 138 ships. We are engaging the enemy in orbit. Hold position. We are coming in hot. I repeat, help is here. The bunker erupted in chaos. Cries of disbelief, joy, shock. Anna stood frozen, staring at the comm unit. Dad? She whispered. Jack couldn't believe what he was hearing. Earth had sent help? After months of silence? It seemed impossible. Yet the voice continued. Frontier Station, if you can. Hear us, hold on. Earth has not abandoned you. I repeat, Earth has not abandoned you. Outside, the banging on the bunker door suddenly stopped. In its place came a new sound, the distinctive whine of military-grade energy weapons. The battle for Frontier Station had just changed, from despair to hope in a heartbeat. They had thought no one would come. They were wrong. The sky above Frontier burned. From the small viewports of the underground bunker, the colonists could see flashes of light streaking across the atmosphere. Earthships, engaged in battle with the swarm. "It's really them," Jack whispered, hardly daring to believe it. They really came. Anna stood beside him, eyes fixed on the comm unit that had carried her father's voice. She hadn't spoken since hearing it, overwhelmed by emotions she couldn't express. The bunker door controls suddenly lit up green. Someone was opening it from the outside. "Everyone back," Jack ordered, raising his weapon. It could be a trick. It could be the swarm somehow mimicking human voices, human technology. The massive door slid open with a hiss of hydraulics. Jack aimed his pulse rifle, finger tense on the trigger. A squad of soldiers in Earth defense uniforms rushed in, weapons ready. At their head was a woman with lieutenant insignia, her face streaked with dirt and sweat. "Commander Miller?" she called out. "I'm Lieutenant Kate Ward, Earth Defense Fleet. Admiral Hayes sent us to find you." Jack lowered his weapon slowly. "How did you get past the swarm?" Kate grinned. "We brought some pretty big guns." She gestured to her team. "We've cleared a path to our shuttle, but it won't stay clear for long. We need to move now." The colonists didn't need to be told twice. After months of retreating, of losing ground, the idea of moving forward, of escaping, energized them. They gathered what little they had and prepared to leave. Anna approached Kate. "Admiral Hayes. Tom. He's my father." Kate's eyes widened. In recognition. "You're Anna Reed? He's been looking for you. He's up there right now, coordinating the battle from the Guardian." "Is he?" Anna hesitated. "Is he winning?" Kate's face turned serious. "It's not going to be easy. There are thousands of those things. But we have a plan, thanks to the data your technician sent up." She nodded toward Mark, who was helping an elderly colonist prepare for evacuation. "His controller theory?" Jack asked. "Exactly," Kate confirmed. "We've identified what we think is their main control hub on the far side of the planet. Admiral Hayes is leading an assault force there now." In orbit above Frontier, the battle raged. The space around the planet was filled with Earth vessels firing at the swarming alien creatures. The creatures were fast, their dark bodies absorbing energy blasts. But they weren't designed for space combat. Earth's ships had the advantage, for now. On the bridge of the Guardian, Admiral Tom Hayes directed the battle with calm precision. "Group 3. Target those clusters near the South Pole," he ordered. "Group 5. Maintain position around the colony. Nothing gets through to the evac zone." Captain Ryan Cooper approached with an update. "Sir, Lieutenant Ward reports they've made contact with the colonists. Evacuation is underway." "And my daughter?" Tom asked, allowing himself a moment of personal concern. "She's alive, sir." Lieutenant Ward confirmed it. Tom closed his eyes briefly in relief. Then his commander's instincts took over again. "Status on the main assault?" "Ready, sir. 10 ships in position near the control hub, waiting for your order." Tom studied the tactical display. The swarm was adapting to their attacks just as the reports had warned. Energy weapons that had been effective minutes ago were now barely making an impact. They needed to end this quickly. "Give the order," he said. "All ships in the assault group fire everything you have at the control hub. Maximum yield." On the surface, the evacuation was nearly complete. Earth shuttles, protected by fighter escorts, ferried colonists up to the waiting medical ships. Kate's team led the final group, including Jack, Anna, and Mark, across the ruined landscape of what had once been their home. "There's our ride." Kate pointed to a shuttle ahead, its engines glowing blue against the darkening sky. As they ran toward it, the ground shook beneath them. The air filled with an eerie, high-pitched wail that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Around them, the swarm creatures suddenly stopped moving. Some fell from the sky, Others froze in place, their limbs twitching uncontrollably. They did. Mark breathed. They hit the controller. Kate didn't slow down. Keep moving, we don't know how long this will last. They reached the shuttle and piled in, helping the last civilians aboard. As the doors closed, they could see more swarm creatures beginning to move again, but slower, disorganized. Without central control, they were attacking each other as often, as they targeted the humans. The shuttle lifted off, its engines straining against Frontier's gravity. Through the viewports they watched as their colony grew smaller below them, the place they had called home for 5 years. It wasn't all bad, Jack said softly. Before the swarm came, we were building something good here. Anna placed her hand on his shoulder. We'll build it again. Somewhere else. The shuttle broke through the atmosphere into the black of space. And there, spread out before them in all its glory, was Earth's armada, ships of all sizes, their hulls bearing the scars of battle but still standing strong. Still fighting. The shuttle docked with the medical ship Horizon. As they disembarked, a crew member approached Anna. Engineer Reed, there's a priority communication for you from the Guardian. Anna was led to a comm station. When she activated it, her father's face appeared on the screen. It was older than she remembered, more lined, but his eyes were the same. Anna, he said, his voice breaking slightly. You're safe. Thanks to you, she replied, tears filling her eyes. You came for us. When we thought everyone had forgotten, I would have come alone if I had to, Tom said. Then he straightened, becoming the Admiral again. The battle's not over. The control hub is damaged but still functioning. I'm leading a final assault to destroy it completely. Be careful, Anna said. Tom smiled. I didn't come 40 light years to lose now. Tell the other colonists. Earth keeps its promises. The communication ended. Anna rejoined Jack and the others in the medical bay, where doctors were treating the injured colonists. Will your father be okay? Jack asked. Before Anna could answer, a blinding flash lit up space outside the viewports. In the distance, the Guardian led a formation of Earth's heaviest cruisers in a direct assault on the swarm's control hub. Energy beams and missiles converged on a single point, overwhelming even the swarm's adaptive defenses. For a moment, it seemed like the entire planet below them held its breath. Then the control hub exploded in a burst of light that outshone Frontier's sun. Across the planet, the swarm creatures fell. Some crashed into the surface. Others drifted lifelessly in space. Without their controlling intelligence, they were nothing. 3 days later, the colonists gathered in the observation deck of the Horizon. Admiral Tom Hayes stood before them, his uniform crisp despite the bandage visible at his collar. On behalf of Earth and all humanity, I want to tell you how sorry we are that you faced this threat alone for so long, he began. But I also want to say how proud we are of what you did here. You held out against impossible odds. You never gave up. He looked at Jack, at Anna, at Mark, at all the survivors who had endured so much. Some have asked if this was worth it. Risking a fleet to save 300 people, my answer is yes. Because what makes us human isn't the worlds we conquer or the resources we claim. It's the promise we make to each other. No one gets left behind. As the colonists cheered, Jack looked out at the ships that had come so far to save them. Earth's mightiest armada, here because of a promise kept. They had thought no one would come. They were wrong, and in that moment, despite all they had lost, humanity had never seemed stronger.